Priscilla Presley was not a star. She was a person who was married to a star. And because of that, she has a certain amount of status. But because he was the king of rock and roll, she was not the queen of rock and roll.
Why do you think that this movie was made?
I think it was nothing but self-indulgent crap. I don't know why this movie was made. It didn't advance anybody's understanding of anything. They didn't even mention Lisa Marie's. All of a sudden there was a baby in the movie. They never even said the name.
Didn't think about that at all.
And this is supposed to be a woman's movie.
Welcome to The Real Generation Gap. My name is Shane Schildmeyer.
And I'm Fred Satilli.
Today we are reviewing Priscilla. Before we dive into the movie Priscilla, please give us a follow, a subscribe, give us a like if you can, and give us a comment on what you guys think we should review in the future. And if you've already seen this movie, what do you think of this movie? But let's get right into this review now. Fred, what do you think about this movie?
I didn't like this movie.
Didn't like it?
I didn't like it at all. It had so little substance. They had a baby, and they never told you the name of the baby. I'm like, Lisa Marie. Like, I know more than you.
That's very true. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, it was like, who made this movie? You're telling me she wrote a book, and she didn't mention her baby's name?
Interesting. Didn't even think about that. Prior to seeing this, I was a pretty big Elvis fan. I had
I am as well.
I mean, big Elvis phase in high school, and I really liked Elvis. And this movie...
But yet you didn't know what a high roll was, and I just thought that was the funniest thing.
Never heard of that, no.
Yeah, this is when you have a collar that's got 5-inch collar stays, like your collars are like this.
Yeah.
That's a high roll. All the greasers... When I went to high school, there were guys with a 5-inch high roll and cufflinks.
Yeah.
Did anybody in your high school wear cufflinks?
No, we didn't wear.
No, we had greasers.
Shirts.
Yeah. We color coordinated socks that matched the shirt.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was then.
Yeah.
That was then. So back to the movie. But I just say for an Elvis fan, I mean, he had those giant collars.
Yeah,
right?
I know what you're talking about. I just didn't know what it was called.
Yeah, that's a high roll.
Yeah. So being a fan of him prior to this, I kind of was hurt a little bit. They made him seem like for lack of a better word, like a groomer. I know back in the day they used to date younger, but I don't know. You were around in this era. Wasn't that kind of a big gap, or was it not as weird?
A grooming is a new thing. It's a new term.
I mean, it's a new term, I guess. But
it's a new term.
Yeah, so maybe he was the original groomer.
Yeah, no, not by any means. Elvis Presley was a very simple young man from a very rural background.
Yeah.
He loved his mother.
Yeah.
He envisioned a very simple life.
Mm-hmm.
He respected the country. He went into the service as he was asked to do. He was compelled to do.
Mm-hmm.
And he loved his mother and father and all that. And he wanted to have very much a virgin wife. Like he wanted to have a girl that was a young girl. Jerry Lee Lewis and Mary's cousins were 13 years old.
Yeah, that's very weird.
Yeah, for you now, but in the rural South, people matured quickly. These farm boys, they were young men at a very early age. They were treated like a young man. You're a 10-year-old boy, you didn't cry. Mm-hmm. There was no, your father would whack you.
Yeah.
If that, and then the mother would tell you, thanks for whacking him,
Yeah.
When your father comes home, he's going to whack you because you cried.
Yeah.
So I at a certain age, I was told not to say mommy anymore. Mm-hmm. Right? I was about 5 years old. My dad said, look, you're a young man now. Mom, mother, mommy is a baby talk. Mm-hmm. So this is how this guy grew up. Now, when he was up and coming, they had soul music and gospel music in the church.
Yep.
They didn't have rock and roll yet.
Yep.
Rock and roll was launched just like me in 1955. So here's a guy who he's doing his thing his way. It's mostly country. He's dancing like wild. He's gyrating. He's a natural star. If he came now, he would be just as big a star now as he was then. Mm-hmm. He just had that magnetic appeal. Mm-hmm. So he explodes into a scene where there's millions of fans. They want to make movies with him. They want to do all kind of things.
This is kind of like the first time that's almost ever happened.
He's the king of rock and roll.
Yeah.
So he still wants a compartmentalized life in Memphis. That's his vision of success.
Yeah.
He wants the devoted girl. He wants to have, a girl that his mother can be proud of, that kind of thing. He doesn't want Anne Margaret. Mm-hmm. He can have Anne Margaret all day. He's got 100 Anne Margarets waiting, lined up. Mm-hmm. He doesn't even know their names. But he's got to live a double life, because in the public he has to be the star, but he knows deep in his heart that he's just a country boy.
Yeah.
And he's just singing his songs, and he's dancing naturally, and he's playing the guitar naturally. All of his original stuff, and with the original recording company and everything, was all very rural.
Yeah.
That wasn't like a big New York City production. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I loved about him was he was loyal to his band. Yeah, that same drummer to the day he died.
Cool. Yeah, that's respectable for sure.
Yeah, and he wasn't having it. He, RCA, we want to make a big production. He's like,
Yeah.
Now these guys, these are my guys.
Yeah, but still, the 10 years apart, 25 and 15, that wasn't weird?
Not to them.
Yeah.
Not to them. And in those days, there were big gaps. A young girl would marry a guy 20 years older because they had power, they had, land or whatever it was, and it was a secure life for them. And they knew that they were going to be secure. There wasn't security like now. Life was tenuous. You died.
Yeah.
People, they got the pneumonia. They died. Yeah. So when you had a secure man in your community, and he found somebody attractive, and he decided he's going to devote himself, and it was very, very common, that kind of thing. For them, this was not unusual at all.
Yeah.
And he showed phenomenal strength of character because he asked the permission from the parents.
Yeah, he did. I was going to say that.
He complied. Her father, the military man, said, "You're not sending a car for my daughter. She's not a putana.
Yeah.
You come yourself. Because he had people working for him. People are jumping, right? Mm-hmm. You want to see her? You come. There's going to be a chaperone. You're going to be responsible. We have people watching you.
Yeah.
Right? And he was completely compliant. And the way they portrayed it in the movie, she was like hotter than him. Like she was like, come on, let's get naked or something. He's like, no, you're not in that compartment.
Yeah, sleeping in the same bed, but they didn't do anything.
Right, fully in the pajamas.
Yeah.
We're doing this right. This is sacred to me. That's what he said in the movie.
Which is, I don't know. I don't know how you could be a parent and let your daughter spend the night somewhere and think something wasn't going to happen.
It's inconceivable now.
Yeah.
With the morals of now. Mm-hmm. But this really did happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and he really did bring her up, and he really did send her to school and say, you have to do good in school or we can't be together. Your father has an expectation here, and we have to honor him. He didn't say, I'm Elvis, I'm the king, the hell with you, drop dead, I'll have an attorney. No, he was a gentleman the whole entire time. And
you think the whole time? You don't... That's part of the reason I used the phrase groomer, because I think there was a little bit of manipulation on her.
Well, the word especially applies because once they did get together, he made her into the girl that he wanted her to be.
Yeah.
And he told her this.
Like, I want you to wear black
like,
makeup on the eyes. I want you to have black hair. Blah, 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 blah.
Right. He took her clothing shopping, picked out her clothes and everything.
Yeah, you don't look good in shapes. You don't look good in floral prints.
Right. She was his Barbie.
Yeah.
And she had to be because only he knew what he wanted.
Yeah.
He wanted what he wanted. At one point in the movie, he said to her, I need a girl who does this, and acts this way, and does these things. Are you going to be that or not? Mm-hmm. And she was like, well, I guess I better be that. Now, I have another issue with this whole movie, and this is a movie ostensibly made about a woman's book. Mm-hmm. Now, Priscilla Presley was marrying Elvis Presley.
Yeah.
But then she didn't want him to be Elvis Presley anymore. And this happens all the time. So if you want a man who's going to finish work at 5 o'clock, no women are interested in him. He's going to come home. You're going to have dinner. He's going to play with the kids and fall asleep 9, 10 o'clock and get up. Marry a letter carrier.
Yeah.
Do not marry John Lennon. Right? Cynthia, marry John Lennon. And it was like, this isn't working out. This guy's out all night with his friend. Just like, of course he is. He's John Lennon. He's in the Beatles. That's you married John Lennon.
Yeah, but I don't. And as far as the movie goes, it didn't seem like she. I mean, there was times where she's like, I want to come, and he's like, no, you can't come with the band.
Right.
But there was other things like when she was like, oh, I want to get a job, so I have something to do, and he's like, no, I don't want a working woman. Blah blah blah.
Because she wasn't a normal girl. She was the king of rock and roll's wife. So everybody, wherever she worked, if she worked at a diner, 1,000 people would come there and eat there and ask her and talk to her and she couldn't go. The one girl said, you can't play with your dog on the front lawn. There's like 100 photographers out there taking a picture of this. Mm-hmm. So you have to be discreet now. You're now a special person. Mm-hmm. So she really was not a special person ever.
Yeah.
She was a beautiful girl. But beautiful girls, we have them, we make new ones every year. Mm-hmm. She had greatness thrust upon her. She was not the queen of rock and roll. She was the Barbie of the king of rock and roll. So you ask yourself, you're going to marry the king of rock and roll. There's going to be benefits and there's going to be downsides. When he's on tour and he comes off the stage and there's hundreds of women screaming and screaming and screaming, he has to be the sex symbol. He can't go, oh, wait a minute, I'm a married man. You ladies all have to go home. No, they need him to be that character. Mm-hmm. What he is in real life that's him.
Oh, well, I guess there was like James Dean and stuff. I was going to say, was this like the birth of kind of the sex symbol, but probably in this era for sure?
Well, that style.
Yeah.
They had him before. Mm-hmm. I mean, but they didn't have this kind of rock and roll, this post-war. Mm-hmm. It was after World War II. Rock and roll happened, and the filmmaking
boom. Yeah.
Right. Technology was moving quickly. The cars were getting better every year. Right. There was new exciting stuff constantly. You couldn't do enough new exciting stuff fast enough. Now, the year goes by, and there's really no original music. It's all pretty much the same. The same kind of thing. But at that time, they had the top 40, and you knew those songs, and they were different, they were new, they were innovative. Elvis Presley.
A lot of them are just 12-bar blues, aren't they?
A lot of that might have been, but then you had the Beatles and the Stones and the Mamas and the Papas and the right. The whole thing. Those folk bands like the Mamas and the Papas, they were so different. They were so very different. So every week the record store had stuff that nobody ever. Then they had psychedelic.
Yeah.
And that was a whole nother couple of years of phenomenally different stuff. So I really was unhappy with the movie. Elvis Presley was 6 feet tall and Priscilla was 5'4". But in the movie, he was like 2 feet taller than her. Mm-hmm. I mean, he was hugging her like down here, right? So it wasn't like that. And as I said, they didn't even mention Lisa Marie's. All of a sudden there was a baby in the movie. They never even said the name.
Didn't think about that at all. And
this is supposed to be a woman's movie. This is a woman's perspective. Now, in addition to everything else, Elvis had a third persona, and that was the drug addict.
Yeah.
And when he started taking drugs as a young man and giving them to her when she was, in her teens, it wasn't like amphetamines. It was a pep pill.
Yeah.
Hey, this will stay up a little bit late.
Such a different time too. I bet everyone was just like, my doctor said take it, so I'm gonna take it.
His drug problem wasn't even recognized like for the first 10 years. Mm-hmm. Then, I mean, by the time he got to Las Vegas and he was incontinent, it was like, hey, this guy's got a real problem. And, just like Brian Wilson, they just destroyed him. Yeah. They burned him. Michael Jackson, too, right? They destroyed Michael Jackson with drugs. God only knows how many more fantastic things that he might have done. He was the king of pop. Mm-hmm. This was the king of rock and roll, right? I thought it was funny in the movie how he disparaged the Beatles. It's like, what's a Beatle? Yeah. Well, they have 4 of the top 5, and you don't have one in the top 5.
That was a good moment.
So, but I will say one great thing for the movie that I really loved, and you know what it is. If you had thought about it for a minute, you would think of it.
Was it the Pistols?
The Cars.
Oh, the Cars. Okay.
The Cars. Yeah. Cars. Yeah. Well, those they did have some interesting handguns, but of course they had those fantastic cars.
Yeah.
And especially the '61 Cadillac. What a rocket ship! There's nothing like that now.
Yeah.
Nothing even remotely like that.
I loved when they showed up in the Cadillac. That was cool.
And even in the last scene of the movie when she's driving away, I'm looking at that steering wheel. The steering wheel was this deep. It had arms that went back like this. I think it was a Chrysler Imperial. I could be wrong. They didn't pan back or anything. So I'm looking at the window moldings trying to figure it out. You know, I probably like a 66 Imperial. I don't think the Toronado had it. They showed a Toronado. I wanted to see that more, but they didn't. But I loved the cars. They didn't, it was her movie. It was Priscilla. They didn't feature his songs.
Hardly.
No.
Yeah, and at first I thought, like, she was just such a, in the beginning, like, just such a blah character. Just, like, no development, nothing to her really. She didn't really talk much. It was kind of just
how
like,
could she?
Elvis,
She wasn't the star.
Yeah.
She was this little adjunct, tag-along person that at the right time for the right reason. And in the beginning, he was still very innocent. He was in the Army. He was still very innocent at that point. And she was innocent, and he identified with that. You're a girl from back home. They were in Germany. You're an American girl. You talk like me. They didn't do any of the accents.
Yeah.
Right? He did not do a good Elvis impersonation.
Hardly.
You know? Look at the difference in height. I was like, yeah, no, you know, but that's okay. but there were two innocent people thrust into this thing, and the parents. Now you talk about grooming. And you said it. What were these parents thinking? They're sending her to Memphis, and then they went right to Las Vegas. I mean, when she came back on the airplane, she looked like a Wiccan.
Yeah.
You know,
because they would take drugs to stay awake, and then they take drugs to fall asleep.
to wake up.
Yeah, and then they take drugs to wake up. Yep.
Right. So she came home and she was all wrung out. So, but I think the parents were starstruck as well. And it would be easy. It was such an innocent time. She was chaperoned. Everybody was assuring them that everything was okay, and it was.
Yeah.
He was an honorable guy. But kids can't make adult decisions. The same thing happens right now, right in my town. A 17-year-old boy gets a 15-year-old girl pregnant. They are not ready to be parents. They're not adults. But yet they'll tell this boy, well, you're the responsible, you're the father, now you're going to pay support and everything. He's like, I had no idea any of this was going to happen. You know, like, people aren't educated in how to act like an adult when they're young.
Yeah.
So it was an innocent time, an innocent girl, and an innocent guy. He's beset upon by all these leeches, producers, record people. Everybody's ringing him out. We got something good. You know, who knows? But he might end tomorrow.
Do you think, because obviously there's scenes where he's like throwing a chair at her and
that was surprising.
playing mind games with her, like we need to go on a break. Then she starts to walk away. He's like, you know what, baby? I'm tired, baby. Come back.
Yeah, he apologized his way out of everything, and she accepted those apologies.
Because
she wanted to stay in Graceland too. You know, there's a certain amount of lust in this thing. There's a certain amount of like, I'm being driven everywhere in limousines. I don't want to throw that in the garbage.
Yeah.
Right? So, you know, trade-offs are hard. When you start to trade your integrity, when you start to make trade-offs, say, I'll accept a little abuse for a lot of benefit.
Yeah.
I'll accept a little bit more abuse because I still want the benefit.
Do you think he was abusive to her, or like?
By what standard?
That's what I'm. Yeah.
First of all, he's out of control because he's on drugs.
Yeah.
Second of all, there's phenomenal pressure on him to produce millions of dollars for hundreds of people all the time.
Yeah. But do you think? What I'm getting at is, do you think this movie was made to see like she was kind of his punching bag in a sense?
He never punched her.
No, I'm not saying like literally, but like took out like his frustrations with her.
Right. Sometimes he needed to vent that way or whatever, and he would get a little short with her.
Yeah.
And they didn't show violence. I mean, he did throw a chair and he did pound the table or whatever once or whatever, but it was nothing like what today. I mean, today we have people are killing each other. They're chaining them up in the basement.
Yeah.
But
so why do you think that this movie was made? Do you think it was to show a different side of Elvis, to bring light to Priscilla's story, actually, which there's not much of a story, really?
I think it was nothing but self-indulgent crap.
Really?
I really do. I don't know why this movie was made. It didn't advance anybody's understanding of anything. It didn't, there was no big expose or anything like that. It certainly didn't make her look good. you know.
Yeah.
And she's a real person in real life,
Yep.
you know.
Yep. Still around, right?
Right. Yeah. Some friends of mine were just with her. They sent me a photo. Maybe if I can find it, I'll show it to you.
Okay.
Yeah, some rock and roll guys, and she was one of
Yeah.
the people in the picture. But Priscilla Presley was not a star. She was a person who was married to a star. And because of that, she has a certain amount of status. But because he was the king of rock and roll, she was not the queen of rock and roll.
If he was around today, you think they would have worked things out? Because he
Definitely.
was definitely in love with her.
Yeah.
At the very least. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, at that time, he was so drugged
Yeah.
that, you know, he was having a hard time controlling anything, or, you know, it's hard when you're manipulated by people year after year after year. And that Colonel Tom Parker didn't do him any favors. He wrung him out. You know, he abused him to the end and killed him with dope.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's a tragic story. We lost a great, oh, look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we lost a great performer, a brilliant performer. He should have been able to be just like we lost so many, Michael Jackson, and we still have Brian Wilson, but, you know, not like he was.
Yeah.
But yeah, these people they really get wrung out, and they die. And that's exactly what happened to him. And she has remained. And if they would have rehabilitated him, God only knows what would have happened. We can't even imagine, because what's the rehabilitated Elvis like?
Yeah.
What would that look like?
Probably not.
So, you know,
Not the same. Did you see the other Elvis movie? Came out a year or two ago.
that was a great movie.
I haven't seen that one actually.
You're going to really enjoy that. You're going to learn a lot. You're going to have much more reverence for him.
Yeah.
You know, and you revere him anyway. You're a fan anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was an innovator. He was a unique guy at a time when the world was wide open for that.
Yeah.
And it stayed that way for about the next 10 or 15 years. And then somewhere around 1973, it just trailed off.
What's your favorite Elvis song?
I'm Evil.
I'm Evil.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll have to listen to it.
What's your favorite Elvis movie?
I don't have a favorite Elvis movie.
Okay.
His movies were crap.
Yeah.
You
I've
know.
seen like maybe 2 or 3, but the only one that comes to head is Blue Hawaii.
Yeah,
But,
Blue Hawaii and Viva Las Vegas,
Viva, oh
obviously.
yeah, Viva Las Vegas.
I think they mentioned that in the movie.
Yeah. And Heartbreak Hotel, was that one?
That wasn't a movie.
No, the prison one.
Right, Jailhouse Rock
Jailhouse
is
Rock.
a song.
It's just a music video, right? It's not a movie.
No, I don't think there's a music video.
There is. There 100% is.
With Elvis Presley?
100%.
Oh, okay.
100%.
I don't remember seeing that. I'm sure you're right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Now
no,
that you're
absolutely.
saying it, I feel like
Like yeah, he slides down the pole. The bars, the jail. Yeah.
right, any video from that time is really bad, you know. But
Yeah.
they didn't know they didn't know what to do. They, you know, I mean, it's like watching the Monkees, the TV show. They didn't know what to do. The Beatles didn't know what to do. They were running out in the field with weird outfits.
Yeah.
They didn't know what to do back
Like you
then.
said, it was a great time.
Now
to
the
explode.
'80s are when videos started to get good.
Yeah.
Then real video producers started coming in and say, "Look, we're going to take your song. We're going to make these settings. We're going to, you know." But before that, it was just, you know.
Yeah. So what do you give this movie, Fred? Priscilla.
Yeah, I don't. It doesn't merit watching. I'll give it a 2.
Really?
Yeah,
Dang.
just because I like seeing Graceland, and you know,
Okay.
some of the settings were fun, I guess. But
I actually liked it, but maybe just because I like pretty much anything about Elvis. So, I think I'm gonna give it like a 6. 6. I think it was worth watching.
okay,
I think it was
well,
like
that's for you know. You hear that?
I think it was
Same
worth
things-
watching.
same-
I didn't think it was the best movie.
You're gonna watch
ever.
the other one.
Yeah, I gotta watch the other
Way
one.
better.
I gotta watch the other one.
You're
for
gonna
sure.
really dig that.
Yeah, definitely.
So
But yeah, so 6 and a 2.
right,
So that's about a
right.
Yeah. That's been a review of Priscilla. Fred, not so impressed. I'm okay with it. But you guys should go check it out while it's in theaters and give us your opinions. Give us a like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you think about the movie Priscilla. Recommend any other movies you'd like for Fred and I to review. Old or anything new coming out. And we'll make sure to get on top of that. Until next time, we'll see you there.